Hi everyone, I'm Anne-Marie from brambleberry.com. Thanks so much for joining me on today's episode. I'm going to show you how to make these amazing Wildflower Blooms soap. Now this is one color and it's pretty suitable for beginners. So if you're a beginner soap maker, make sure you read your basic safety instructions, understand the chemistry behind soap making, maybe watch the first 4 cold process videos on this channel, but this is suitable for you. And if you're experienced and advanced, you know what? Suitable for you too, because we talk about design elements and how important it is to dress up more simple bars of soap with things like botanicals. This particular batch features 3 botanicals: dried pomegranate, calendula, and then pink cornflowers. These are really great because when they're put on top of the soap, they'll stay this color. Now, of course, they will fall off the first couple times you use them, so they're really for decorative purposes. But let's be honest, when you're giving a bar of soap, you want people to go, wow, that's beautiful. Or if these are on a store shelf, you want these to be so appealing that someone picks them up and goes, wow, that's beautiful. Smell. And let's talk about the smell. This is part of Brambleberry's Bohemian Blooms collection. It's called Wildflower Breeze, and it's very fresh and ozone-y. I mean, the name Breeze might give that away. There's some neroli, there's some rose in there. It's not too sickly sweet though. For a floral, those ozone notes really come through. In soap, it does yellow just a little bit, so keep that in mind when you're thinking about your design. Now, suiting up for safety, obviously, making sure that kids and pets are gone, well-ventilated area, got 30 to 45 minutes to soap and clean up, and always with the goggles, because hey, you can only get one set of eyes, and lye water and fresh soap, really not good for any skin or eyes. I have my oils measured out, I have my lye water with sodium lactate added there, and I have my fragrance all measured out ahead of time. Now this recipe is really fun because it is palm free. So to make up for kind of that hardness factor, we did a few things. First of all, we did hemp butter in there at a full 10%. And hemp butter obviously is luxurious for the skin. It's semi-solid at room temperature. It is going to add to the hardness of the bar. Also did some deodorized cocoa butter in there to help with that. And then to help with lather, we've got some castor oil in here. Finally, to make sure that this does harden up into a nice hard bar, instead of using regular olive oil, we used a version of olive oil called Oil Pomace or Pomace. People pronounce it differently. I don't know which is right. And Oil Pomace or Pomace traces just a little bit faster, meaning when you're using it in your recipes, the whole recipe is going to congeal, trace faster than if you're using pure olive oil. So the combination of all of these things together is going to help us replace the palm oil in this recipe entirely. I can definitely see the kind of natural green earthiness in here just from that olive oil pomace for sure. And with the cocoa butter, it's a deodorized and bleached pastille, so that's not affecting the smell, which is pretty important. If you don't have deodorized bleached cocoa butter, you can totally use regular cocoa butter. Of course, it might inhibit your smell a little because the smell of flowers can get overpowered by the smell of natural cocoa. And then also, if you don't have pomace or pomace olive oil, you can use regular for sure. You just are going to end up with a soap that takes a little bit longer to harden in the mold. That's it. That's the only trade-off. Now I'm going to do my color. Now that I'm at kind of a nice thin to medium trace, I'm just going to go probably with about 1/4 of a premixed tablespoon of green chrome oxide. And green chrome oxide is one of these nice natural colorants. And I'm going to give this a quick stick blend in just a second. I just kind of want to get this in and make sure I'm at the right tone because I want to give this enough contrast so that when I put my blooms on, of course they really pop. I'm just going to stick blend this in real quick. And that is perfect. I love it. And I'm going to add the fragrance oil, and I might just give it a quick stick blend because I know how this fragrance oil behaves, which is gloriously. Now, if you're using a new fragrance oil and you've never used it before, definitely don't want to be stick blending something in the first time you've used it. But in this case, I know exactly what it's going to do. Since all of the Brambleberry fragrances are designed by soap makers for soap makers, you generally can always tell exactly how they're going to act and react because we put the notes right there on the website. We even give example swatches for you on the website of how the fragrances look in uncolored soap. Now I'm getting neroli notes. And then this is gonna thicken up in the mold pretty fast. So I'm just gonna fill these most of the way up. And then once they're done, I'll give it a quick tap just to do some leveling. And then we get to place our blooms, which is the really fun part that makes these soaps look and feel different than, say, just a plain green soap. I do love how this mold also turns out. It's really shiny, so the soap comes out pretty shiny, which is nice, but it also fits beautifully in the hand. And I've got pretty petite hands and it fits really nicely in my hand. Now I'm just gonna play around a little bit with texture. Just gonna use a spoon to do that. Just a little bit of texture on here, nothing major. And you can see this is hardening up pretty fast. That's because that addition of the cocoa butter is really good for that. Because obviously cocoa butter, think about the temperature it gets hard. So now this is dropping in temperature quickly. And so it's getting hard in there. And the castor butter, or excuse me, the castor oil at 3% is gonna add to the kind of copious feeling of luxurious bubbles that are bigger and floofier than if we didn't have the castor oil in there. I love the texture here. I have to say this is my favorite, maybe that one. And now I'm just going to do some placement. So each of these is gonna kind of get like 2 of these pomegranates, these dried pomegranates right there in the corner. And I'm gonna try this one. I'm gonna add the pomegranates after I've added my kind of lighter stuff and see if I like that look better, because they are different looks, right? I think adding the little bits first is going to be a much better option here. It's hard not to overdo it. These are so pretty. And then with botanicals, since they are pretty decorative, you don't have to use that much, which is nice. So a little bit goes a long way. And since Brambleberry sells by weight, you end up, when you order these, you end up with a lot of them. So you'll be able to put them on quite a few things. I'm going to do a little bit more pink on this one. And then placing these gently. They have a little tip on the back here. And so you just kind of shove them in. So these might last for a few little bit longer, like the dried pomegranates, but the rest, the blooms, are definitely going to go a little bit faster after the first wash. So keep that in mind. And you can always just kind of press these in just a little bit too, just to make sure they're going to actually stick in there. Now, after I'm done with this, I'm definitely going to put this on a heating pad, because these silicone molds don't hold very much heat, right? They're thin, they're beautiful, but they don't hold a lot of heat. So I'm going to put this on a heating pad to kind of force gel phase or encourage gel phase. That'll help with the hardness of this as well, because that helps really quicken the pace of evaporation that we need for the water to evaporate out. Since so much of curing time is really hardening time, right? You're evaporating out that water. So I'm gonna put this on a heating pad for 24 hours, and then the soap will be ready to unmold in just a few days, especially because of that sodium lactate that we put in there. These were made a few days ago, and the sodium lactate really helps with unmolding. And of course, using oils that were fairly hard to replace the lack of POM should help us unmold cleanly. So the key is, obviously, we have some botanicals here and we don't want them to all fall off. So just push gently up from the back, and then there you go. That's it to get these out. The silicone molds are so easy and so versatile. I love how cleanly the soap comes out, and it comes out really shiny. Now I'm getting some fingerprints on it. If you wanted to be extra non-fingerprinty, you'd wear gloves while you were unmolding, and that would stop any fingerprints from happening. So now with these, it's time just to let them cure and harden and evaporate out any excess water for 4 to 6 weeks, and then they're ready for you to use, give away, or sell. And of course, if you make this project, or really any project you think is going to inspire us, make sure to hashtag it BrambleOn so we can see it, applaud you, cheer you on, and get inspired ourselves. Until next time, happy soaping.